Alright. Welcome to the graffiti jungle. Paulo Pulingue. Benvenuti no jungle de graffiti. Questo è impostore, rockstar. It's the fake rockstar chat show. Pensieri tangentiali, formerly known as Tangential Thought Chat Show. Podcast, Sweet Cigar. But we haven't had a cigar in 2026 yet. We're waiting on it. We're going to be going. Shout out to Cowboy Bebop, was where we started calling from session 151 to session 368. We started using the word session, but for 2026, we're going to use the word soggetto. I was reading an oil painting book, and I want to incorporate the word study and subject, and we're going to use the word soggetto, which means subject. Sono to cabo y sono. Chief Gihareh, Julius, Augustus, Carol, Okay. So, just finished watching Cowboy Bebop, session 24. And I will also say session 24, Sessione 24. Sessione 24. So that's one thing. Couple things here, not really sure how things are, whatever. Stop watching in session 23. My anime crush Joy from the show Big Shot. It was like, what? It was like they had this bad news, like it was their last show or whatever. It was gonna be one of their last shows. I was like, man. And it was one of those like it was like you watching Bebop and it's showing things, and it ain't, like of stuff that's just like, the hidden information, the things that we kind of really do want to know, should know, type of thing. I don't know. Like you never know what if it could have gotten to like a certain aspect, or how good or great the show could have been. They pulled the plug on it, and then just kind of sort of knowing or not knowing certain things. So, and I'm saying that in the sense of one, don't know what, like, because some of the shows, like, especially like the Brain Scratch episode, some of the episodes or sessions would seem like, oh man, like, some of the episodes and sessions, like, you could sit there and watch it and be like, oh man, it might put you on to something, like some knowledge or some information, and telling you like, okay, this the real secret to this, that, and the third. And Brain Scratch was one of those type of whatchamacallits, right? But then at the same time, it could see like, oh, they put it on it where it's not like a whatchamacallit. So the last few sessions that I had seen of Cowboy Bebop, one, the samurai, I really like the samurai one, where the guy, he was a cowboy, and then at the end of it, he decides to be a samurai. I think that was 22. There was that one, and then he had the Brain Scratch one, and those type of things. But and then it was just like knowing that it was getting canceled, knowing that they may not be able to continue having their show and how they will want to, for whatever reasons, political or not political, whatever, and controversial, whatever, right? And so that's one of those. So in one of the sessions, it was like, oh, we're not gonna be having this Big Shot show no more. Like, okay. This session, I kind of didn't like. I don't like oh, you think you're about to know something, or a little more this and the third, and then it's not really, and then those type of things. So, in this session, let's see. It starts off, okay, there was one session that I thought, kind of sort of aged well. It was Faye. They found out a little more about Faye, and it was, they had to go through this whole thing of finding a beta cassette player, a VHS cassette player, just so they could find this tape that was dropped off. Then they finally get the TV and everything to work, and the tape is like a video that Faye recorded prior to whatever. And so, the thing about Faye is technically like 70 something years old, but she still has her 20 something year old body or whatever. It's been like 50 years since whatever happened. So this session starts off with that. This session starts off with um, Faye watching that video again, and it's set up just like a little vlog, and it's showing like different little random clips. And so Faye is watching that vlog or whatever. Mind you, she can't really remember. She recognizes herself, but she don't really know what was going on. This and the third. So we don't even know who sent that video. How did it get to her? Any of that. Uh, so mind you, she doesn't remember. Then, so she's watching the video, and as she's watching the video, she kind of pauses on this one part. It has like this water fountain, and there's like a lion, and water's coming out the lion's mouth. So it's like this water fountain. She kind of like stops it and pauses on that. But she can't really remember anything. She can't really remember anything. So she can't remember anything. However, Edward kind of like pops up beside her. She's like, "Where'd you come from?" And Edward's like, "Water fountain." Da, da. And she was like, "Do you know what this is?" And Edward's like, "Yeah, no, I don't know. If I know, I know. I'm not sure if I know. I don't know what I know." And Edward's just half asleep, and then she was like, "Edward, do you know this?" That's how it kind of starts. So the name of this session is called Hard Luck Woman. And then, so a couple of things happen. She's like, well, they come to find out they were supposed to be headed for some type of bounty, but then they were supposed to be like, are we supposed to be headed to Earth? And it's like, we were supposed to be headed toward somewhere else. How did we get over here? And then kind of find out Faye has left with Edward. And so Edward's supposed to be telling her where it is. And she's like, "Edward, do you know what this is?" And so he's like, "I got something to get for you." So Edward and Faye changed the track of Bebop, and they had them on this whole little island, or whatever, or Earth, or whole little planet. They go looking. They get into this little spot of, um, they get into this spot, and when they get there, it seems like this like landfill type of spot, and uh, Edward pulls like a pail and is like, "Water fountain," and Sophia's like, "Oh my goodness, I know you didn't just whatchamacallit. That is not what we're supposed to be looking for. That's not it." And then she was like, "My fault for trusting, right?" So then uh, she has that. But then, like, this is whole little landfill thing or whatever. But then other kids pop up. And so other kids, and they're all like, they're similar to Ed. And so they all surround her and this and that third. And then this nun comes out and like sprays or like the water hose. And then so like they go, and technically the lady is like, "Yeah, Edward just came in here like 5 years ago, and then just started eating with us. Like everything was then there, and kind of left like 2 or 3 years after that. Like Edward just kind of sort of like wandered off later, like and never came back." Um, so she made the nun lady prepared dinner, and then she's like, uh, Edward was just like, "Yeah, we just stopped here so we can eat good food, Fei Fei." And then the nun was like, "Well, I do have a gift for you or whatever." And then she goes to like she's like, "It's in the top drawer." And she pulls out this little holographic thing, this hologram thing. And she's like, "Yeah, that's your father." And it was like, "He came looking for you about 2 months ago. This and the third." And so, does that. For her father, Edward's father came looking for her. Edward's father came looking for her about 2 months ago. He was like, yeah, he's probably not the most model, father or dad or whatever, but he did come looking, and it's worth it, just whatever. So then Edward does take Faye to like the little place or whatever, and so Faye's looking at the little lion water fountain thing, and then of course at the time that she is visiting this little lion water fountain, of course, one of her old classmates is there. So this old lady pulls up in a wheelchair and is like, Faye, is that you? I was in your graduating class in high school. So she was like, you don't remember me? She was like, or you don't remember what happened after the accident? And then like the lady, her granddaughter comes up and she's like, do you know this lady? And the girl's like, and she was like, and then when the lady had walked up, she's like, I thought you were as a ghost. You haven't aged a bit. But she was like, oh yeah, they did put you in that little cryogenic. They froze you, put you in a cryogenic thing. And so after the accident, and then so she was like, you remember the accident? And then Faye was like, maybe. And then so when the lady's granddaughter comes up, she's like, do you know who this lady is? And she was like, this is, and then Faye interjects and is like, just a ghost from the past or whatever, and she like runs away with Ed. So that did that happen, and then after that, so that's the first little annoyance. Like one, why didn't Faye let the lady? The lady could have told Faye like what happened. Now, I'm not sure if it was right then at that moment. Actually, yeah. When the lady started talking to her and telling her like, "Oh, this and the third," it was one of those brain fracture type of things, and she kind of sort of started to remember something. But her and Edward, Faye and Edward then go back to the Bebop to the ship, and Spike is like, "Y'all didn't. You can't just be changing the director, and we supposed to be this and that third, and y'all done da 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 woo woo woo." And then so Faye kind of just looks at him, and then she just goes to what you want, and so she doesn't have her usual smart remark or retort. So there's that, and then she doesn't have her little smart remark or retort, and then she just goes and she lays down, and so she goes and she lays down. There's that. They do show. So like then it comes down to like the person that they're looking for, uh, the bounty that they're looking for. Mind you, the nun lady gave the little thing to Ed and like, oh, that's Ed's dad, Ed's father, and then comes to turn out that the person that the bounty for is for Ed's father. So there's that. Then Faye's just laying down. Faye decides to just lay down, and she's just laying there, and she's just laying there and rolling around and tossing and turning, and then she goes to get into take a shower, and when she takes a shower, that's when she starts to remember some other stuff. She's like looking up at the shower head, and she's in the shower, and she's just like, oh, she's remembering like movie theaters. She's remembering like uh, being in class, being a little girl. She's remembering like, then she does remember like a spaceship or a plane, and like her whole thing kind of like fractures. It's as if she was like in like a little ship or something. I don't know what she's looking at, the moon or something like that. And then, no, just talking about the show. She's like looking at the moon, and then like things kind of like fracture or whatever. So she's kind of starting piecing together, but she's just in the shower, just remembering some of this stuff. Like she can't remember nothing. She's in the shower, and then she kind of like puts all this stuff together a little bit. So there's that, and then afterwards, um, I'm trying to figure out what happens from here. From here, she kind of tries to remember, but then she was like she has to go again. So uh, she leaves, and she goes back, and so right before she leaves, I'm not sure if I don't think I'm really forgetting too much or anything, but right before she goes back, Edward's like, oh, you leaving again? And she basically tells Edward like, you gotta she tells Edward that you have to find something about you and where you gotta go, and this and the third, boom boom boom. So she leaves, Faye leaves, and she goes back. Now technically she's stuck. So when she goes back, because she basically tells Faye like, you got to find where you belong. Belonging is the best thing. That just reminded me of like of like a human's needs. One of the needs is to belong. Like you need to feel like you belong to something, to a group, a tribe, a organization, a group. You need to feel like you belong somewhere in a family, in a job, a corporation, a group. Like this is why people, fraternities, gangs, cult. Like this is why certain things, religions, cult, all this stuff. Like because you need to have like this feeling of belonging. So uh, she's like, the belonging is the best thing. And so she tells Faye that, she tells Edward that. Then she like leaves and then she goes back to this and the third. So she's running up this hill, and at the same time, it's one of those like she forgets, like, because she doesn't remember her whole past. She doesn't remember nothing about her whole past. She was frozen. And so, but now she's kind of sort of remembering just a little bit. And so she's running up this hill, but it's like flashing back of her as a little kid running up the hill. And so she's just running, 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 and it's at a third. And then when she finally gets to it, it's like the house isn't there no more. So, and it's assumingly the house that she would have kind of grew up in. And so she lays on the ground, and she's just laying there. And then Spike and Jet go to get the bounty person for the day, the bounty head for the day, and the bounty head is, we at this point you find out it's Edward's father, and they thought it was like 50 million wulong. It turns out to be it was just only 50 wulong, and it wasn't like 50 million. It was 50. Um, and so Edward, Edward's a hacker, so Edward probably put that whole thing up there. Kind of, sort of, not really. Um, then, um, so Spike and Jet actually find Edward's father. They pull up on him, and they get into a whole little thing, and then, but then Edward kind of comes out and jumps, and so technically he Edward's father's working with some guy, and like they just update the map. So like Spike and Jet was just like, bro, there's no reason to update the map. There's meteor showers that happen over here, so you have to keep updating the map. And it was like, exactly. So that's how they feel like they're doing something. They have a map, and every time a meteor drops, they go to where the meteor is and basically update the map. And so that they're keeping up the map of update how things are changing. That's what they just feel like that's important. And her dad like eats eggs, and just like there's this whole thing. He not remember the person. The person's name, his assistant is McIntyre. He keep calling him Macintosh or whatever. He keep messing with the name, whatever. So don't sweat the small stuff. But Edward's father is just like kind of sort of eccentric, just like Edward. And then, but anyway, they go to try to apprehend Edward's father, but then he's handling his own. Spike can't really, hit him or get to him or anything like that. And then Edward comes off Bebop. Edward gets Bebop docked, and then Edward jumps off of the Bebop ship and was like, and then her father catches her, and then she's like, father person. And it was like, that's your father? And then she tells her father, like, this is Jet person, Spike person. And and then he's like, no, 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 they've been keeping me, or whatever. And then the father's even, yeah, this is my son, or is it my daughter? And then that's the whole thing. So it was supposed, like, the point was for Edward to meet her dad, but then he did say come be with me or whatever. He was looking for her, but then it was like nope. He ended up leaving again once the meteor fell, and they had to just go off and go get that. So there was that. Um, so it kind of sort of, this session ends with Faye at her house, or the old place where her house used to be, just laying on the ground, and then Edward decides to leave. I'm thinking, kind of sort of assuming, to go look for her father. And then the dog, Ein, is following Edward, and she was like, you can't come with me. Do you want to come with me? All right, fine. She says go back to the to the ship, but then she's like, you want to come with me? Oh, all right. And because Edward's like, I might not be coming back. So there was that. And so that happens, and so this was session 24, and there's only 26. And one of the things about the show is the fact that it got canceled. So and so it was one of those things where they know they're getting canceled, so now they're just trying to just wrap up the last few whatever. This is like the stuff that I don't know all the details and of whatever happened. So there's something I don't know because the movie comes out after this, but it's like the whole thing is starting. It was Spike and Jet, and then it was the dog, and then it was Faye, and then it was the the kid, and so those like that's how it kind of started, and now it's like, well, Faye is leaving. Faye has always just been in and out, um, uh, and that's one of the things that Jet doesn't like. Like, bro, nobody really, everybody just leaves, comes back when they feel like it, and then just leaves again, and that was one of his. That was Jet complained about that again in the movie. So I'm just kind of figuring out what's going to happen like these last two, because uh, it seems like Edward and Ein just left, Faye left, and so I mean they can contact and of course find each other or whatever, but there's that. So I'm not sure what the next two sessions are going to be, but I didn't particularly like care for it because one, like it didn't like there's no like the and so like but these are all the things I talk about, like, oh, okay, really, you know what I'm saying, like Faye didn't know where that little water fountain thing was, and so the time she gets there, that's at that time this older lady is all of a sudden there too and says, oh, hey, Faye, you don't remember, and then so when she could have told Faye what happened, and Faye's like, oh, nope, never mind, I don't want to, and so runs away. That's like just those type of things happening. Um, and then for Faye to get to her old house and it's not there anymore. So it's like there's there's like no progress as far as like understanding the characters or more of or anything like that. Like that's what I'm saying. Like that's just annoying. That's just annoying. Like of even if we're trying to figure out more about Faye, just as it's like nothing happens. Um, but in a sense of like then Edward and Ein leave and don't even say where Edward is really going or anything like that. But it's kind of sort of just one of those things where it's like, well, depending on how you view or like the show, like Edward and Ein, they they can serve a purpose or whatever, but it's rarely of anything that's in the third. Like so that's why like in the movie, like there is it's everybody has their own little thing and kind of sort of like pitches in and like that's how things go. Like Edward is the hacker, Ein is the data dog, and the little hints are like they never really like well, and when they had to do the brain scratch thing, they put that thing on rather than using it, put it on their head, they put it on Ein's head. Um, like the importance that each character can have at any point in time. Like it's not their superpower, but this is their thing, and it's how they kind of go about it. So session this basically looks like a disbanding. That's basically what kind of sort of happened. All of remember Jet, no, the dog, Edward, and Faye were picked up along the way in the beginning of Cowboy Bebop, and then in this one, all three of them just leave. So there's only two more sessions, and so I don't know what the next two sessions are going to be about or be like, but that's why I say like it was like a come on, bro. Like you could just go ahead and like what is it about Faye? What really did happen? Like we still don't know what happened, type of thing. Um, where is Edward going? So those type of things. What's going to happen in the next one? Knowing goodness what it is, just kind of like removing those. But then me already seeing the movie, I do know that they kind of sort of get back together, kind of sort of somehow, some way. So there's also that with my going through all of this. I probably should have watched the sessions before just get into the movie, but because even in the movie, there was like, oh, the show Big Shot, He's like, oh yeah, we got a 20-minute session. Like we're gonna be on for a long time today. And it was longer than usual, but that's why I said the movie just felt like a long session. But it wasn't like it was something like super in detail or anything like that.